as much out of it as we can. All right, so putting together the ratios for right triangles, you can figure out pieces of the missing different parts of those triangles. Like, for instance, if I did long side to short leg, okay, in the big triangle, the long leg would be which? B, and the short leg would be A. Everybody see that? Right? In the right triangle, the two legs make the right angle. The long one's B, the short one's A. Okay? So in the other two triangles, okay, the long leg of the small triangle would be what? H, and the short one would be X. And in the medium triangle, the long leg would be Y, and the short leg would be H. Okay? So putting these together in cross products, we get H squared equals X times Y, right? Because you cross multiply. H times H is H squared, right? So if you rearrange that a little bit, how do I solve for H if I have H squared? What do I do to square root, right? So I get H is equal to the square root of X, Y. What do you call it when you take the square root of two, the product of two numbers? We learned it yesterday. Geometric mean, right. So the length, based on our similar triangles, the length of this altitude here is equal to the geometric mean of X and Y, of those two pieces. Okay? So the length of H, okay, is the geometric mean of X and Y, right? X times Y. All right, and actually I can figure out the lengths of this side and this side and this side. All the ones that come out of the right triangle. I could show you the ratios for those. Okay? But let me just quickly show you what they are, because unfortunately we have short time today. So we already said that the altitude, which in this case we called H, okay, is the geometric mean of the two pieces of the hypotenuse. Right? Side A, okay, the short leg of the big triangle, is equal to the geometric mean of X and the whole hypotenuse C. Okay? And the long leg is equal to the geometric mean of Y and the whole hypotenuse. X and C. So A, the short leg, is equal to X times C, square root of X times C, and B is the square root of Y times C. The way I think about it, this doesn't have mathematical justification, but the way I remember which pieces go with which is H makes an angle with X and with Y, right? So that's how I remember H goes with X and Y. A makes an angle with X, right? And C, the whole thing. So X and C go with A. And B makes an angle with Y and C. So that's why, like I said, it doesn't, mathematically that's not the way it works, or it has nothing to do with each other, but that's the way I remember which pieces go with which pieces. All right? So let's put numbers to these. If X is 5 and Y is 10, what's C? 15, because you just add them together, X plus Y, right? Okay, so the length of A would be what? The square root of 5 times 15. The length of B would be the square root of 10 times 15, and H would be the square root of 5 times 10. Okay? Because C doesn't make an angle with H, right? It doesn't stop at H. It keeps going. Oh, here? A. That's an A. Come on. I'm sorry? Well, let's do some examples. Okay? So let's say, let's use this. And let's start out simple. Let's get rid of, let's move 9 and U. Flip them. Okay. So let's find U, W, and V. Okay? W is equal to, first, this always helps. Well, if from here to here is 9 and from here to here is 3, what's the length of the whole side? 12, right? 9 plus 3. Everybody see that? Are we okay with that? Because that, for some reason, that trips people up. Okay? So if that's 12, W is the geometric mean of what two numbers? 9 and 12. So we see that, where I got those? 9, which is this piece of the hypotenuse, and 12, which is the whole thing. So I do 9 times 12. And I want to simplify that, so 9 is 3 and 3, and 12 is 4 and 3, which breaks down into 2 and 2. So I have a pair of 3s and a pair of 2s, and this 3 has to stay home and play Nintendo in the basement. No date. So the 3 comes out, the 2 comes out, and I have 3 times 2, which is 6. So the final answer, let me move that out of the way. So the final answer would be 6 square root of 3, like the final reduced answer. Did see how I did that? All right. Then U would be what? It's the geometric mean of what two numbers? Wait, not a W, because why is that grouped? Oh. 9 and 3. So U is equal to the square root of 9 times 3, which would reduce 9 breaks down to 3 and 3, right? So it would be 3 radical 3. And V would be the square root of, or the geometric mean of 3 and 12. Good. That's 4 and 3, 2 and 2. So we got 2 pairs, so it's just 6. Does that make sense? Yeah? All right. All right, let's get a little crazier. I know, right? They didn't have TV back then. They use their brains more. All right. This time, the x and the y and the z aren't all the sides that we can find. This time, the x is kind of gumming up the works, right? Because it's right in the middle of the numbers we need. So we can solve for x, can't we? Because we have 2 for this distance. Don't we have 2 out of the 3 pieces we need? Did we see that? Like if I started here, I would have an x and a z, so I couldn't solve it because I'd have 2 variables. If I started here, I'd have an x and a y. I couldn't solve it because I'd have two variables. So I'm going to start with this piece because it's only going to have one variable in it. So before I can fill out my x, y, my z, I'm going to say 6 is equal to the geometric mean of what? 9x, right? The geometric mean of 9 times x. Okay? Now, I can't solve for x when it's under a radical sign, just like I can't solve when it's on the bottom of a fraction. So how do I get rid of that radical sign? Square it, right? And whatever you do to one side, you got to do to the other. So you square both sides. The square and the square root cancel each other out. So all I have left on this side is 9x. And on this side, 6 squared is 36. Divide by 9, and x is 4. So now I know the pieces that I need, right, to solve for the other two. So x is 4. Y would be the geometric mean of what, Jack? Remember, it makes the angle. No. Everything is based on the hypotenuse. Like all the numbers you're going to use are going to be all or part of the hypotenuse. So it's never going to be like this piece or this piece. Okay? So remember we said the pieces you need are going to touch the y. It's going to make an angle with the y. So it's going to be 4 and the whole thing, which is, right, 13. And 4 breaks down into 2 and 2, so I can pull that out of the radical. So the reduced form is 2 radical 13. Okay? And how about z? Joyce, can you try z? Remember the pieces that touch z. 9 and 13, the whole thing. 9 and 13, good. Okay, 9 breaks down into 3 and 3, so that's going to be 3 squared root of 13. Does that make sense? Yes? Okay, let's grab your homework. Let's do number 10.